My book is Kids These Days by The Making of Millennials by Malcolm Harris. It is published by the Little Brown and Company, and the IBSN number is 978-147-899-7931. This book talks about the misconceptions of millennials. Instead of talking about how lazy we are and how different we are, it talks about how we are apparently the most hardworking generation, and it's a lot different than other people think. The cover has emojis, and it has different emojis that cover the different topics of throughout the book, such as pills, like medication, and charts and stocks, things like that. The emojis on the cover ties in with millennials known as the electronic generation, and just goes well with it. So the different types of sources that he uses a lot of college professors or research labs. He also uses others, but those are the main ones. So, for example, there's a sociologist that he talks about, Arne Kallenberg, who discusses the increase in male and female wage gaps over time, which is very interesting because it talks about how there's apparently a bigger age gap currently rather than it was in the 60s and 70s. But what he talks about is there's not a lot to look at that time because a lot of women didn't really have jobs yet, or if they did, it wasn't. It was completely different than what men had. Another one is he quoted Urban Institution researchers, and they studied the different net worths of different ages over time, and they were talking about how the different net worths each generation has, and it's a 50-50 chance if we're going to become richer than our parents or not. It's basically a coin flip, as he said on page 97. Um, it's it talks about how it's just setting up the economy is setting millennials up for failure, even though we are trying our best. Another one that he talks about is UCLA's Civil Rights Project, and on page 120, and it shows us the increase of convicted crime kids over time. This talks about how there's a higher standard for all kids, talking about the gifted and talented and AP classes and things like that. That's throughout a child's years now, and it's harder pressure on others. And so the people who don't have any income, not only are they lower in income, but they don't even have these abilities to be higher up because it usually costs more, or it costs more to make your child knowledgeable of these things. So it talks about how the crime rate is crazy high in children just because of the way people are viewing children around these times. So the author, Harris, fits into the new current history category because he is a millennial himself, and he's covering an ongoing topic because people still think that millennials aren't doing the right thing and that we should change the way we are, when Malcolm Harris is talking about how they just need to let us roll our course and things like that. For example, in the very beginning of the book, he talks about how we are way more capable of conducting technological jobs and things like that, and we're going to take basically all of them because we know a lot more about electronics than older generations because we use them all day, every day. And that's at the beginning of the book on page 15. Harris's background is he is a young freelance author who has not written any other books. This is his first and only book. He has bits and pieces that have been published, like little articles in the New York Times, New Republic Book Forum, and others, but he doesn't have any other writing experience besides this, so he is very young, and this is his first trial, which makes him less believable or credible because this is his first time. This is almost like a trial book because no one's first book is ever the best. So for critiques on page 195, it talks about sex. It talks about how kids are waiting longer than any other generation to have sex, yet the parents are being more guarded and irritated about it. But the difference is that he doesn't talk about is the reason that we wait later is because children now, instead of forced to having a family and marriage right away just to support their family, now we don't have to support others. We can go to school, get educated before we even think about having a family or having sex. So it's different and not even relevant to talk about different generations with that because there's so many factors that goes into that. Another thing that he talks about is, like I mentioned before earlier in the book, when he talks about how we are more qualified to have technology jobs. On page 180, it brings that back up how there's more jobs because of us, such as like jobs with BuzzFeed and things like that, because they're creator jobs and it deals with internet and content. But personally, I think that is a negative thing because BuzzFeed and sites like that are the reason that there is so much controversy and hatred on things that don't even matter or are very opinionated and don't even need to be discussed. But the only reason they exist is because there is a lot of technology and basically their job is to cause a riot or cause a discussion that is negative because negative discussions grow bigger than positive. And that's how they make money because they just keep building up on negative outlooks of the world currently. The last one is he's qualified to write this because he is a millennial himself. But like I said, he's very new at this and, you know, he may be very intelligent and it's very brave of him to make a book that talks about how millennials are fantastic and better than others because no one has dared said the same thing, but there's a lot of flaws and too heavy opinion for me to believe everything he says. So that is this book. I hope you liked it. Goodbye.